I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration.
Dismissing me out of hand by attacking my motive is not going to work. And telling me that my question is an insult to the children who died in Texas in a flood is an outrageous response. You get the middle finger in the face from me for doing that.
Trump has backed himself into a corner with a miserable response. Dan Bongino's done poorly. Kash Patel's done poorly. Pam Bondi has done poorly. And so it's hard for me to believe that all of these abject failures in the response on the Epstein story are an accident. Though they probably are. I'm just saying, like, isn't it hard to believe they screwed up this bad?
It's not just like you're covering up criminal activity. You're covering up the systemic rape and torture of children. That's too evil, man.
All right, so the Epstein files situation just keeps getting so much worse. I don't think I've ever seen this much blatant gaslighting and lying. I mean, it's basically impossible to ignore it at this point, even for Trump's biggest supporters. It's also getting increasingly more difficult for people to explain this in a way where it doesn't look like the government is trying to cover up a child sex trafficking operation. That's why the only thing they can really do at this point is convince people to stop talking about it, because there's no way to explain this and not make the administration look absolutely terrible. You know, they completely botched this thing so badly. I mean, first they claimed there was a list which needed to be exposed and everybody needed to be held accountable and they would be the ones to do it. So they pretended to give it out, but then they admitted they rickrolled us and they got a ton of backlash. So then they said they received a truckload of documents and videos that they were going through. But then once they went through that, it turns out there's no evidence of anybody being involved in Epstein's operation. There's no client list. And then they got a ton of backlash from that. So they said there actually was a client list. They didn't want to release it though, because it was created by Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. So first there's a list, then there's no list. Now there's a list again, but it's fake. So it's like they're not even trying at this point. I mean, this is the most desperate and pathetic attempt at a cover-up ever. And then just recently, a reporter asked Trump if his attorney general saw his name in the Epstein files, which is a great question, and Trump's response is hilarious. He starts talking about the credibility of the files, which again, just last week, they said there were no files, but now they're files, but he doesn't trust the credibility, of course. I wonder why. And after he's asked about it, he's like, Pam Bondi gave me a briefing, and in terms of the credibility, I'd say those files were made by Obama and Biden. I mean, he doesn't even sound very confident in his lies anymore. You know, he's asked if his name is in the Epstein files, and he's just like, you can't trust them. Obama probably made them. I mean, he even says it like he's speculating, like he's just coming up with that. I mean, he might as well just be like, yeah, she saw my name in there, but odds are Obama probably put it in there. And then he was asked about it another time, and he's like, I don't know why anyone cares. You know, the credible information's out there. It's been given. It's also so boring, and only bad people in the fake news care about keeping the story going. And he's saying all this while standing next to Jeffrey Epstein's former neighbor and business associate, and the guy's laughing while Trump is talking about this. So it's completely ridiculous. And the 180 that Trump and his administration did is also insane. You know, they're trying to gaslight everyone like we're all just NPCs. I mean, Dan Bongino, Trump's deputy director of the FBI, used to tell people there's way more to the Epstein story and we should continue talking about it because the government is trying to cover it up. But now Trump and Dan are saying it's boring, people need to move on from it, and they're helping cover it up. So the fact that they expect us to just accept this and move on like nothing happened is insulting to everyone's intelligence.
Why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story and so upset about how it's been handled?
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time. He was never a big factor in terms of life. I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is.
Why do they want to make this Jeffrey Epstein story go away so bad? Because the people in charge of this global cabal of idiots out there trying to hide the truth don't want you to hear about this story and have the power to censor it.
And the credible information's been given, but I don't understand why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But
we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there. This Epstein thing is there's more than meets the eye there. I know a lot of people want to make this thing go away. That Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this.
You had the file, Attorney General Pam Bondi.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you, what did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen. And I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that.
Oh, boy. This thing is just getting nastier by the second. The question is, why were they talking to him, and what were they trying to make go away? Does it have anything to do with the extensive video network alleged to have existed on his island and on his plane?
So maybe Trump should ask Dan why he thinks the Epstein files are so interesting, or Cash, or Pam, or JD Vance, or most of his administration. They're all talking about how we need to hold these people accountable up until about 6 months ago. They went from trying to expose Epstein clients to helping cover for them. Like, if Dan Bongino were still just a podcaster during this, he'd be all over it. He wouldn't believe any of this bullshit they're trying to put out. Like the whole tape of Epstein's cell that apparently proved he killed himself. I don't know what the hell that was supposed to be. It didn't even show Epstein's cell. It was edited and cut up and missing a couple minutes of footage. But Dan claimed this was evidence that showed clear as day that nobody went into Epstein's cell. And he also claimed they were giving us original footage, which again is just another lie on top of the thousands already.
There's video that when you look at the video, and we will release, that's what's taken a while on this. We are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans. You're going to see there's no one there but him. Right. There's just nobody there. So I say to people all the time, if you have a tip, let us know. But there's no DNA, there's no audio, there's no fingerprints, there's no suspects, there's no accomplices, there's no tips, there is nothing. If you have it, I'm happy to see it. There's video clear as day. He's the only person in there and the only person coming out. You can see it.
So it's telling you don't trust anyone, me included. We don't bring receipts, throw it out the window.
But how Epstein died, or if he died, I think is mostly just a red herring at this point. They'd rather have us focused on that than the client list. They'd rather have us focused on almost anything other than the list. Like, Trump is so desperate, he's now reportedly calling and having meetings with influencers and politicians to try to get them to stop talking about it and to get them to defend Pam Bondi because she's getting a lot of heat and people want her to step down. So apparently Charlie Kirk got the call. He said he's done talking about it and he trusts the government, which sounds completely ridiculous. We're literally watching the government try to gaslight us and lie to our faces and try to cover it up. And Charlie's just like, yeah, I think they're doing a good job. I trust what they're doing. It's already hard to trust the government, but especially when it comes to the Epstein files and them claiming that there are no files, or now there are files. It depends on the day. Sometimes they exist, sometimes they don't. But now apparently they do exist and they're fake. We're just supposed to believe that. Apparently Charlie does. He trusts his friends in the government, his friends that are trying to cover for Jeffrey Epstein. When is reality going to hit these people? Like, they're really going to go down trying to cover for Epstein? That's crazy. Like, also Stephen A. Smith, he was going off about how he doesn't care about it, even though he admits that there probably is a client list, but it just doesn't matter to him at all. And I don't know if he got a call from Trump or if he's just out of his mind. And then also Matt Gaetz reportedly met with Trump, and now he keeps praising Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. So this is like when the mainstream media gets a call from the higher ups to try to push a narrative. It's the same kind of thing.
I'm done talking about Epstein for the time being. I'm going to trust my friends in the administration. I'm going to trust my friends in the government to do what needs to be done, solve it, balls in their hands. I've said plenty this last weekend. So if you guys want to see my commentary on it, that's fine.
You're in an uproar off the Epstein list. That's all you've got? It's really, really surprising that this matters. Of course, I think there's a list, but I don't know. I suspect, but I have no knowledge, nor do I care. It's Friday night. I'm getting ready to go out and enjoy myself. I'm getting ready to have a nice weekend. I could give a damn about the Epstein client list. It has no effect on me whatsoever. I have a life. I don't understand for the life of me why this matters so much to these. I'm talking about people losing it. They're crying on camera. They're talking about resignations.
And I'm going to make the case that even though there are unanswered questions about Epstein, it is in fact time to move on. Part of being on a political team is maintaining a certain amount of maturity recognizing you can't win them all, recognizing there are some things that are important to you that are less important to the guy that you've put in charge, who is trying to focus on things right in front of him. And so having a sense of perspective, having a sense of balance, having a sense of maturity, I think is more important even than getting to the bottom of what really happened.
Explain to me what you think the nonsense is here.
Well, frankly, the fact that you're even covering this. I mean, I don't even understand, frankly, why we're spending a lot of time on Jeffrey Epstein. The fact is he was a pedophile who was arrested. He committed suicide, and his fixer, if you will, is being prosecuted. So at the end of the day, if there are people who were part of any crimes, then they should be prosecuted. But in the absence of that, what exactly are we looking to do? The information is there. It is well documented what he did, and beyond that, what exactly are we looking for?
Let's start with Pam Bondi. The Attorney General always takes a lot of flack in any administration, but look at what she has accomplished. The Bondi team successfully litigated away the judicial coup of nationwide injunctions. Attorney General Pam Bondi is a star and has our full admiration and support. Which Trump AG would you replace Pam Bondi with? Barr? Sessions? Rosen? She's the best, and we appreciate her service. And at the FBI, some have suggested that they aren't keen on cash anymore. Look at where we've been at the FBI. It used to be a dumpster fire.
So I don't know how much longer these people can keep it up, because also they get a ton of shit for it. They're clearly just trying to cover. And also they always say they're done talking about it, but then I'm sure they'll keep talking about it. It's like Trump being like, why does everyone care about this? When his attorney general did a whole press tour about it. I mean, every week she was on Fox talking about the files on her desk and the videos and the tapes, and she released those binders. So she's been bringing a lot of attention to it and overpromised on everything. And then Trump says she's doing a great job. And it turns out Trump is continuing to talk about it, because while I was wrapping up this video, he just made another True Social post. And he said their new scam, the Democrats, is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will. Even after being conned by the left lunatics for 8 long years, I've had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history. And all these people want to talk about, with strong prodding by the fake news and the success of starved Democrats, is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't ever think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success, because I don't want their support anymore. So now he wants people to refer to the Jeffrey Epstein story as a hoax. Apparently it's complete BS now. And if you're talking about it, he doesn't want your support anymore, and you're just falling for the left-wing media's trap. So I think Trump honestly might be cooked at this point. I don't know if there's coming back from this. I mean, this just makes no sense. I don't know how anybody could defend this anymore, and it's almost impossible not to blame Trump at this point. And I'm sure it'll just keep getting worse from here too. So make sure you subscribe to stay updated, and make sure you check out my Patreon account. If you want to hear about how Joe Rogan's handler might be an Epstein client, he was meeting with Epstein even after he's a convicted sex offender, and he took a giant loan from him too. And also Epstein associates have been using his podcast to try to vindicate themselves and clear their name. And there's a lot of other Epstein content and just a ton of other stuff, over 140 exclusive videos. There's a lot to go through. So if you want to stay up to date with everything and hear about everything going on behind the scenes, that's the best way to do it. Make sure you check it out. There'll be a link in the description.
All it is the Republicans, certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans, in this case, I was surprised, but they got duped.
So I'm gonna go throw up. Actually, I mean, I'm physically gonna puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now. It's because.
All right, so Elon Musk has been completely spiraling out of control recently, and now I think pretty much everybody, except for his diehard simps, are starting to realize he's the biggest man-child on the planet. So things really started to implode when his Trump supporter fans started turning on him, when he tweeted that we need more skilled immigrants coming into the country on the H-1B visa because he claims there aren't enough talented and motivated engineers here. And he obviously just wants to hire cheaper employees. So this really pissed off Trump fans and people on the left, like pretty much everybody, except for people who hire H-1B visa workers. So then somebody commented on Elon's post about it and said that their son has an engineering degree and it's like impossible for him to find a job because of that program. And they ratioed Elon's tweet about it, and then their account got suspended. So then Elon just kept doubling down on it, and he said the people that are against the H-1B visa can take a big step back and go F themselves in the face. He said he'll go to war on this issue, the likes of which we cannot comprehend. And apparently you do not want to mess with Elon. He's also previously said, there's a large graveyard filled with my enemies. I do not wish to add to it, but will if given no choice. Those who pick fights with me do so at their own peril, but maybe this is their lucky day. So it's just awesome hearing Elon try to act tough. You know, it's crazy. He's one of the most powerful and richest people on the planet and is still somehow not intimidating at all when he says stuff like this. And now Steve Bannon, he said him and Trump supporters are ready to go to war with Elon and they're going to rip his face off.
Don't come up and go to the pulpit in your first week here and start lecturing people about the way things are going to be. If you're going to do that, we're going to rip your face off. Because you can't beat us. We're not beatable. This army of the awakened not beatable because we're relentless and we will never surrender and we will never slow down. And yes, if you go low, we'll go to the center of the earth.
And now I saw some people on the left cheering on Steve Bannon, which is wild. But then after this whole controversy, Elon, he started going to war with these people by taking away verification status of people who disagree with him, which demonetizes them and I believe limits their reach and engagement. And then he also banned a bunch of accounts as well. And since Elon took over Twitter, account suspensions have tripled. And that's not including bots. Like, that's only real accounts. And it seems like the bot problem on there is worse than ever. Like, there's so many now. And what's funny is after this whole H-1B visa controversy, Elon kind of tried to play it off like a lot of the accounts that were criticizing him were bot accounts, which is just so funny because he's kind of admitting that his platform is full of bots. But Joe Rogan was talking about this on his podcast, and first he was talking about Elon, and he didn't directly mention the H-1B visa controversy, but it sounded like he was kind of alluding to it when he was talking about how a lot of the arguments online, he's like, how many of those are actually real people with real opinions? And then Elon retweeted this and said exactly, which is just insane considering he owns Twitter and he claims he's cracking down on the bot problem.
Because of that, though, then you have to wonder, when you see arguments, how many of these arguments are real people and their real opinions, and how many of these arguments are this giant block of accounts that's been purchased by a large organization that is hiring people or using AI to have arguments with people and incite things online.
Yeah, so of course Joe says this right after his boy Elon gets criticized, you know, because Joe is like the biggest Elon dick rider of all time. So then Elon retweeted this to try to convince people that most of the criticism towards him is coming from bot accounts, which is just so funny. And people in the comments, thankfully, were calling him out. And they're like, shouldn't you as the head of Twitter be handling this? Like, isn't this your problem? And people are like, don't try to play off the criticism of your H-1B stance as bots. You know, these are actually real people complaining about it. And then also in response to all this controversy, Elon had changed his profile picture to a Pepe the Frog meme for a few days to try to prove that he's still based or something. I think that's what's going on. I don't even know, but he's so bad at handling controversy. Like, also recently, he had the whole gaming community coming after him as well because he keeps trying to convince people that he's one of the best gamers in the world and he's always bragging about it. Like, one of the last times he's on Rogan's podcast, he said he's like one of the top 20 Diablo players, which, I mean, most people with common sense would be like, that's pretty much impossible because usually to be one of the best players, you gotta be playing nonstop. So most people assume that he's just paying somebody to play as his character or whatever so they can level him up and he can take credit for it, which is just weird, but it wouldn't have been such a big deal if he wasn't going around bragging about it.
So are you in the top 20 in the world or top 20? Wow, in Diablo?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody your handle?
And of course, Joe never really questions anything Elon does, which is part of the problem. You know, the fact that so many people around him will just kiss his ass all day and never be honest with him, that really made him think that nobody would ever catch on to this stuff, you know, because he's so used to just everybody buying his bullshit all day. I mean, he could say whatever he wants and people are just going to eat it up. Like even Joe's friend, Duncan Trussell, who seems like one of his more sensible friends, he started glazing Elon for this and is like, I finally believe he's an alien. There's no way a human could be running all those businesses and be one of the best Diablo players. And it's crazy because he even says he could be paying somebody, but obviously he's not doing that. So Duncan thinks it's more likely that Elon's an alien than him just paying somebody.
So when you realize this guy shooting rockets into space, making e-vehicles, starting a new fucking department of the government is also the top. It's so crazy. It's the one time I actually let myself think maybe he actually is an alien, because there's just no way, unless he's paying people to do it for him, which obviously he's not. That is insane, man. Yeah. That is insane. So
eventually Elon got busted when he's playing this game that he claimed to be one of the best players in the world at. And somebody who knows the game well reviewed it, and he's like, yeah, Elon really doesn't know what he's doing, which was pretty obvious. But I guess it's just hard to believe that somebody who already has it all, like money, fame, power, influence, still feels the need to trick people into thinking they're one of the best gamers in the world. I mean, it seems like a silly controversy, but to think that a 50-year-old man is still that desperate and insecure is just insane. And of course, the way he handled the controversy just made it much worse, because this big gamer on Twitch, Asmongold, who Elon follows, he was criticizing Elon. So Elon got so butthurt about it, he leaked their DMs, and this was so embarrassing. He thought he was like exposing this guy for him lying about being like an independent creator. He said Asmon believes he's like a maverick, independent, but in reality, he had to ask his boss for permission before he can do anything. He is not his own man. And then he released these DMs where Elon was asking him if he could stream on Twitter, and he said he had talked to his editors about it. And then Elon responded and said, sure, who are your mysterious editors? And he explained to him that they're guys that help him run his YouTube account. Like, they take clips from his stream and edit them and upload them to YouTube. So they're employees of his. But Elon, he took this like they're Asmongold's bosses or handlers or something, and he needs to get their permission on everything. So Elon is just so confused. I mean, he is off the deep end. This is unbelievable. And also him sharing this message without Asmongold's consent is breaking Twitter's terms of service. And then also, of course, he took away Asmongold's blue check mark. So Elon has to be the most petty man alive, no doubt about it. And also some people claim they're having trouble uploading videos of Asmon criticizing Elon's gameplay. So he might have been trying to censor that. I mean, he's basically just falling apart right in front of our eyes. Like, he is so sensitive. He'll also cry about how people make fun of him too much on Twitter. And his mom has to come to his defense sometimes. Like, she was on a show talking about how calling Elon wealthy or a billionaire is degrading, and people should just refer to him as a genius.
Really? You know, I don't like the word wealthy or billionaire or things like that, because I think it's degrading. I think he's the genius of the world, and people are loving him for that. They don't, when they see me, they go crazy because I'm his mother, but they love him because of what he does, and they respect him. And
yeah, so poor Elon has people calling him wealthy. That must be tough. I mean, I think he's just so used to the positive attention, people praising him everywhere he goes and kissing his ass. He just can't handle any criticism now, and he thinks he can do everything because of people like Joe Rogan. I mean, when Joe talks to him, he treats Elon like he's literally a god. I mean, the first time he talked to him, it was so uncomfortable. Seeing a grown man act like this is just really hard to watch. Like, Joe just kept talking about how Elon is so far above everybody and how he's like superior to humans, and how dumb Elon makes him feel, which you would think somebody would be uncomfortable about this, and they'd be like, all right, man, take it easy. I'm just a person like you. But of course, Elon, he's like, yeah, I'm an alien, or I have a mutation or something. And Joe's like, that's what I thought. You know, I always thought you're some superhuman AI creature sent here to help us.
But you must understand there's not a whole lot of human beings like you. You know that, right? So you're an oddity.
Seems, yes.
To chimps like me. Some of us are a little bit more confused. When I watch you doing all these things, I'm like, how does this motherfucker have all this time and all this energy and all these ideas, and then people just let him do these things?
Because I'm an alien.
That's what I've speculated.
Yes.
I'm on record saying this in the past. I wonder.
It's true.
I mean, if there was one, I was like, if there was like maybe an intelligent being that we created, you know, like some AI creature that's superior to people, maybe just hang around with us for a little while like you've been doing and then fix a bunch of shit. Maybe that's the way.
I might have some mutation or something like that.
You might. Do you think you do?
Probably.
Do you wonder? Like, you're around normal people, you're like, Like, what's up with these boring, dumb motherfuckers? Ever?
Not bad for a human.
And it seems like almost every time Elon's mentioned on the podcast, Joe has to start talking about how dumb he feels compared to Elon. It's so cringy. And I think he even did a bit about that in his comedy special. And one time Joe had on somebody who works for Elon at SpaceX, and Joe started doing this whole thing. And you could tell by the end of it, the guy's just thinking, all right, dude, take it easy.
But it's very confusing to me. I just feel so stupid when I'm around him, you know? Like the conversations I've had with him, I'm like, God damn, I'm dumb.
No.
You gotta do what you gotta do with what you got.
I won't go that far.
So Elon has to have one of the biggest egos ever at this point, with so many people constantly glazing him every second of every day. I mean, Joe is just absolutely obsessed with the guy, and every single thing Elon does is pure genius, according to Joe. Like, also he thinks Elon is the funniest man alive, which shows why Joe is the worst comedian alive. But when Joe starts talking about how funny Elon's memes and poop emojis and D's nuts jokes are, it's impossible not to get secondhand embarrassment, especially because it always turns into a glazing contest. It's like who can compliment and fawn over Elon the most, which it's impossible to beat Joe, but it's just wild to see two grown men acting like this.
Like, he makes memes. He posts memes. Like, when you post that meme of Bill Gates next to the emoji of a pregnant man, and said, when you want to lose a boner real quick.
Yeah.
That's wild. Because you can't even say, oh, fuck that guy, he's a dumbass. It's literally one of the smartest human beings alive and the wealthiest man alive.
The one where he was asked for comment by one of these legacy media outlets. I don't know if it was the New York Times, but it might as well have been. And he sent back a poop emoji. And it's like, look, that's a wise move because the rules of the game say, you know, he refused to comment.
Right.
But you can't say that if he did comment and it was a poop emoji. You have to report that. So that was extremely clever.
And he said, Professor, suck on these nuts.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Elon said that to Gavin Newsom?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yeah. Pull that post up, Jamie. It's so hilarious. He said, Professor, sug on these nuts. Says it's legit and that parody is legal.
Holy
I forget what his
crap.
exact quote was. I'm paraphrasing. I checked with renowned world authority Professor Sugon D's nuts, and he said parody is legal in America.
Oh, my God.
Hilarious.
We don't deserve him.
Hilarious. What a wild dude.
Wow.
What a wild dude.
Yeah, so Joe's got to be one of the biggest Elon sims. It's pathetic. Like, the guy spends so much time praising Elon, and if you say anything even close to something negative about him on Joe's podcast, he gets all defensive about it. Like, one time Tim Dillon just mentioned how Elon loves attention, which is undeniable, but Joe, he couldn't admit it and is like, well, that's just what comes with the job, you know? And Tim, he says, well, there are plenty of rich people that aren't tweeting all day. And Joe's response is, well, they're not building rockets and cars and digging tunnels. So it's like, all right, so you're saying Elon, he needs to be tweeting memes and poop emojis all day and playing video games because he's running a bunch of different companies at once? I mean, it sounds like that's what Joe's trying to say here, which that just makes me think maybe Elon isn't spending much time on these companies anymore. I mean, the guy probably spends like 8 hours a day just on Twitter, and that's not an exaggeration. I mean, he's tweeting all day long.
There's such a vast chasm between people that have a lot of money and the people of nothing, right?
Right.
And he's become kind of a symbol of that. So is Bezos, because they're literally now flying rockets into space.
Yeah.
So all the while you have all of these other problems and all of these other issues. So, you know, obviously people are going to, and I think he likes the attention. This is not a guy that doesn't want to be famous. He loves fame, 100%. You don't agree?
I don't know if he loves it. I think it comes with the job, and I don't think he minds it.
Oh, I think he quite enjoys it. I mean, he seems to have
he
fun.
Pursues it? He definitely has fun.
I think he
but
pursues
he has
it.
fun with a lot of things.
Is Warren Buffett tweeting every day like this?
No, but Warren Buffett is not also inventing 50 different things at the same time.
He's a multi-billionaire. I mean,
he is, but he's an investor.
Sure.
Elon Musk is digging tunnels under cities and shooting rockets into space and revolutionizing electric cars.
Where are the tunnels?
Well, there's one from Vegas to L.A. Have you seen it?
I've not seen it, and we don't need one.
And you can tell Tim isn't the biggest fan of Elon. And of course, Joe gets all defensive about it, because nobody could ever criticize his god, Elon. I mean, even Tim just saying he likes attention is too much for Joe. And it causes him to feel the need to go through Elon's whole resume once again, like he does every other podcast. I mean, it's just so pathetic. And I guarantee Tim, probably along with all of Joe's other comedy friends, would love to be roasting Elon all the time on their podcast. Because the guy's like a cringe merchant, it's probably hard not to make fun of him. But since they need Rogan and they're friends with him, they're probably nervous about upsetting him. But recently, Tim actually has started to make fun of Elon more. And it sounds like he gets what's going on. Like recently, he said the tech elites are just using Trump to further their companies and ideas, and they don't actually care about Americans. And he said they're not excited about America, they're excited about leaving Earth. And Tim is the perfect person to roast Elon because he's also known for his rants about Bill Gates and George Soros and people like that. Like he'll go off about how Bill Gates wants to shoot dust particles at the sun. And he explained this to Rogan one time, and he's obviously freaked out like anybody would be. But it's just funny that with Bill Gates wanting to shoot dust particles at the sun, Joe's like, man, that's crazy. He just expects us to be like, yeah, go ahead and do it. You got enough money, do whatever you want. But then when Elon Musk explains to Joe that he wants to nuke Mars, Joe has nothing to say about it.
People want to make decisions for all of us, like Bill Gates. Like one of the wackiest ones he's talking about, like blocking the sun, putting particles in the sky to block the sun to cool the earth. Like, hey, kid, there's a whole lot of people on Earth. You don't get to say for all of us. You don't get to talk for all of us just because you have $100 billion. That's crazy talk.
Right.
That's what people are scared of. And how would you warm it up?
Well, there's a few ways to tackle that problem. You could just have it do giant thermonuclear explosions every few seconds. The sun is a giant thermonuclear reactor in the sky.
And the craziest thing to me is Joe Rogan, who's friends with a bunch of billionaires and arguably some of the most powerful people on the planet, will still say stuff like this on his podcast.
If you're running corporations and you're making billions of dollars, you're going to get bored. What's the ultimate game? The ultimate game is to run the whole world. What people are scared of is that when you really do have ultimate money and ultimate power, with most people, there's this desire to control people. It's part of the gig. You start controlling people. There's like people like to pull strings on people.
Yeah, so I guess Joe, he's friends with the good billionaires. All the other ones, they're trying to control people in the world. But Elon Musk, the richest man alive, he's just doing everything to help Americans, and he has their best interest in mind. I mean, Rogan acts like everything Elon does is just a selfless act for humanity, when in reality, everything he does is to gain more power, money, influence, and further his businesses. Like with Twitter, Joe has people convinced Elon buying Twitter was a risky move, and he just did it to save free speech. And if he didn't do it, we were heading down a path of censorship and controlled narratives. But there's still a ton of censorship on there, maybe more than ever. And the reason he bought Twitter is so he can control the narrative and manipulate the algorithm and collect everybody's data. Like, since Elon bought Twitter, his net worth has doubled, and he's going to be a trillionaire soon. And he has a huge influence on the president. Like, he's with Trump 24/7. But we're expected to believe him buying Twitter, that was a selfless move. And the best part is Elon would complain about buying Twitter and talk about how it's tough to make money on his investment. Like on Rogan's podcast, he said it's a tough way to make a living. Imagine that, the richest man on the planet complaining about how he's having a tough time making money with one of his businesses to a bunch of people who can barely even afford to survive. I mean, it's crazy, especially considering he's using the platform to collect everybody's data and gain even more influence on us and more control in the world.
Thank you so much for buying Twitter. Thank
welcome.
you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm not exaggerating when I think you changed the course of history. I really do. I really think you made a fork in the road. We were headed down a path of censorship and of control of narratives that is unprecedented. Forget about what they were able to do back when they had newspapers and the media under control.
I mean, the reason I did the Twitter acquisition was like, it's like, man, if I don't do this, I think we're screwed, is the issue.
Well, if you didn't do it, no one else was going to do it because it wasn't a financial winner. It was kind of a crazy move.
It's a crazy move. I mean, the thing was way overpriced. Like long term, I think we can ultimately make it a win for investors. But boy, this is a hard way to make a living.
Yeah, so I'm glad Elon's having an easier time making a living now. I was worried about him for a second, But what's wild to see is Alex Jones is even selling out to Elon now. You know, he's kissing the ring, probably because he's nervous about upsetting Elon and getting kicked off Twitter. But it's just crazy to see because Elon is everything Alex would complain about and still complains about. I mean, he's a transhumanist, technocrat, globalist who's putting chips in people's brains, trying to develop mind reading, collecting our data to use for AI, and trying to control the media and narrative to further his agenda. And he's trying to nuke Mars so he can start a civilization there, which sounds like everything Alex would warn us about.
And the elites themselves believe they're racing using human technology to try to take our best minds and build some type of breakaway civilization where they're going to merge with machines, transcend, and break away from the failed species that is man. First, artificial intelligence will be a supercomputer based on the neuron activities of the hive mind of humanity, with billions of people wired into it with the Internet of Things. And so all of our thoughts go into it, and we're actually building a computer that has real neurons in real time that's also psychically connected to us, that are organic creatures. And so then it's the end of consciousness and free will for individuals, as we know, and a true 2.0 in a very bad way, hive mind consciousness with an AI jacked into everyone, knowing our hopes and dreams.
So now seeing Alex defend Elon and praise him is just unbelievable. And Alex had a meltdown over it because he knows he sold out and is supporting the globalists now. But it's hilarious. You know, he's trying to convince people that Elon is the one fighting the globalists, and he's trying to expose Epstein. That's why people are attacking him, which is just ridiculous. I mean, Trump and Elon are in power now. Are we going to see that Epstein list? No chance. I hope I'm wrong, but I highly doubt it. You know, I doubt two people who are tied to Epstein and P. Diddy want that list out. And I'm sure we're going to stop hearing about Epstein now. You know, everybody who's been questioning the story and talking about how we need the list exposed, they're going to stop talking about it now. But yeah, Alex Jones, he had a meltdown recently because he knows he's supporting a globalist.
What the hell? And he's exposing Jeffrey Epstein and the CIA. Hell, last week he put out tweets about the CIA at war with America. God almighty, Jones sold out retweeting that. God, I apologize to all of you. I'm sorry. I sold out. I tried to stop the oil rigs, the giant Muslim kidnapping rings. I'm sorry. I kissed Elon Musk's ass. We're so close to getting the globalists. I want their throat. I want victory. And now you can see it. And you guys think you're going to harass Elon Musk and push him off of supporting Trump and divide Trump and Elon? You're not. We have already beaten your ass. Oh, let's continue.
Yeah, so at this rate, Alex is going to be trying to convince people that Mark Zuckerberg and Bill Gates are fighting the globalists. It's so funny. Like, Trump, he just had a 3-hour meeting with Bill Gates about vaccines. Is Alex just going to ignore that? And right now, it looks like the people pulling the strings of the Trump administration are going to be a bunch of technocrat globalists like Peter Thiel, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Mark Andreessen, David Sachs, and now even Bill Gates. And all those people, except for Peter Thiel and maybe David Sachs, were all anti-Trump guys and voted for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden. But I guess now they just conveniently came to their senses all of a sudden and are now backing Trump. And I talked about this a little more on Patreon in my recent video about how Mark Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan's podcast and tried to suck up to him and Trump supporters and just failed miserably. And I've also been covering Wes Watson attacking one of his haters at the gym and proving he's the biggest coward of all time. And there are also over 100 other videos on Patreon. So there's a lot to go through. If you're a fan of the channel, make sure you check it out. There'll be a link in the description.